2 days before Christmas, and now I sit here troubled by what happened to the Rangers last year. The season began with poor signs of hope, but by May 31st, we all felt like dope. The team did bounce back, which made us relieved, but again, the old Rangers underachieved. So let's ponder this day, the immediate odd past, and let's talk the future on the Ranger Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Hit There, Jeff. It's not easy for a podcast. Will not past. Hear me, Jeff?
I hear you, John. What's going on?
Oh, good. Okay. But now Pat slipped me away. What happened? What happened?
John, we might be having some audio issues here, buddy.
Oh, my signal is bad. Okay, hang on. I may have to reestablish here.
All right.
Well,
hey guys, what's going on? We're glad you're here. We're closing out we're not closing out the week, but closing out the run up to the holidays here with our Tuesday show. We only have 3 shows this week. We'll be back Friday. We're going to take Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. But we're thrilled that you're here because we have some more stuff to talk about. Right off the top, with the little signing this morning, the Cubs went and got Jacob Webb, signed him to only a deal worth $1.5 million guarantee this year. I think there's an option or something like that for next year. Pretty affordable. The Cubs are raiding the Rangers bullpen. That's 3 guys just this offseason. They started pretty quick with Phil Maton, and then Hobie Milner signed, and now Jacob Webb. And you kind of look at these dollars that they're signing for. Maton was pretty high, 2 years and 7.5 million or 14.5 million. That's what the Rangers gave their catcher, Danny Jansen. So I don't know that one's was in the Rangers price range, but Shawn Armstrong still is under some people's skin. Not sure where this one's going to sit though, because Jacob, when you look at the numbers, had a fine year, and he's so good against left-handers. But I wonder if the Rangers. I mean, they did non-tender him. They non-tendered him for a reason. Maybe they thought they could get him for less than what he was going to make in arbitration, which was projected to be $2 million. It's basically what he's getting from the Cubs. If the Rangers are trying to go low on him again, as they did last year, well, shame on them. But another one off the board as the Rangers continue to try to assemble this bullpen. And again, I don't know that it's the biggest tragedy in the world that Jacob Webb won't be back. Good against lefties, but he is not overpowering. He gave up a lot of home runs. He was pretty steely on the mound, but I think he was a pretty emotional guy, and that's fine. Nothing's wrong with emotion, but I don't think we should lose any sleep over this one. Okay.
No, and are you hearing me now, Jeff? Does this seem and sound better? Oh,
yes.
That's so beautiful. So anyway, yes, I agree with that, and I think this is a clear indication. $1.5 million would not have scared the Rangers off. Obviously, that basically, like you say, I mean, with incentives, he could get his arbitration number, but they could have probably gotten him. They could have done a deal before arbitration for less than the arbitration figure, it feels like. So, this is one of those deals where they let it go. And they weren't too worried about it and shouldn't be. The idea of the show here is we're going to talk about things like the first segment we call the Grinch. These are things that in the off season and in the season disappointed us and stole, like the Grinch does our baseball joy. And then Santa comes around in the second segment, and we talk about the things that have, given us baseball joy over the past couple of, off seasons and seasons. And then we'll get into the future. So that's the idea of the show. We got the cleanup segment too. We've got Kat, who's playing hurt today, and we appreciate her. And she's put this all together and even reestablished me after apparently I had some issues. What are you going to do? Those bugaboos, technology,
right.
Jeff.
Technology. You'll have to repeat the open though.
Nobody heard the poem?
I heard parts of it. You might want to do the poem again.
Let's do the poem. I wrote the poem. Let's do the poem. 'Twas 2 days before Christmas, and I sit here troubled by what happened to the Rangers last year. The season began with sure signs of hope, but by May 31st, we all felt like a dope. The team did bounce back, which made us relieved, but in the end, the old Rangers underachieved. So let's ponder this day, the immediate odd past, and let's talk the future on the Rangers podcast. Okay, so there you go. That's the open to the show,
Good.
Everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Odd past and podcast, Jeff. It's not an easy rhyme there,
Yeah, you had to work on those last two lines, but
yeah,
you got her done.
The podcast isn't that doesn't just roll off the rhyming tongue. But anyway,
Yeah.
we did. We got her done, and the Rangers haven't gotten her done yet. And as we look back on some of the things that are disappointing, that help steal our baseball joy, the Grinch type things, Jeff. The Brendan Webb one, not quite as big, or Jacob Webb, but the other one that we lost. Actually two. The Cubs love the Rangers relief core, obviously last year, but to lose Sean Armstrong, that one did steal a bit of joy, because again, you didn't lose him to a multi-year deal. You didn't lose him to a deal where he had, making a tremendous amount of money this year, certainly more than last year, but
right.
It doesn't feel like that should have been out of the Rangers price range.
It shouldn't have been. And like I get, we've considered some options here that, the Rangers were afraid of the regression and the lack of value, or that, the payroll is just that bad. The other option, I suppose, is that maybe Sean Armstrong really didn't want to be back. He said he did. That's the thing. The last weekend of the season in Cleveland, he specifically said he wants to come back. Maybe he saw, the manager change hands and the pitching coach change hands, and saw the CY talking about how little money they have, and he's like, well, you go look at Cleveland, and what have they done the last, 2 seasons? Well, they've won their division, and they need bullpen help because they got one guy headed to prison, and 2 guys really probably going to the big house.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity there for him to fill a meaningful role. And he was going to have a meaningful role with the Rangers. And really, if I look at the divisions as they stack up, I still think the Rangers have a better chance of winning their division than do the Guardians. I think the Central's a little more competitive.
Right.
But you just have to let this one, that's just one of those that doesn't make sense. And somewhere though, there's going to be an answer for it. And I keep waiting to get it. And I'm sure everybody else does too, and we'll pass it along when we do. But the fact of the matter is that Sean Armstrong's not back, and that's probably of this offseason. That's the one that is the most grinchy, the one that stinks the most.
Yeah, and when you look at the season as a whole, I think where the Grinch reared his ugly head the most, Jeff, was designated hitter. And frankly, you can probably look at the last few seasons and think, man, the dang Grinch does not like the Rangers' designated hitter position. It's been a position of weakness, and again, for a team that's just traditionally and historically known for its slug and its power, it's just confounding that is a position of such fail of the last few years.
Yeah, and and first base still is not
True, true,
recovered from Mark Teixeira. If
true.
we're gonna be honest, it's all the guys they've run through there. Ben Broussard and Scott Sheldon and
Yeah,
Andrew Jones, for crying out loud. Moreland was okay. Chris Davis didn't get as much of a chance as he probably deserved.
yeah,
Probably would have been better. Um, but it's just Nate Lowe. You thought you saw some glimmers there, and it didn't happen. And now you're hoping Jake Berger's that guy, but at DH, man, what Jock Peterson did in 2025 was um, terrible. He made an
yeah.
out more than 80% of the time
Oh,
in his at bats. I'm not sure what his on base percentage finished at, but it wasn't very good. I do think it was. I do think it was over 200. But this is a guy that is getting paid a ton of money. It's an
yeah,
untradeable contract at this point, and so now you have to hope that he bounces back in a big way. Hitting 220 is not bouncing back. You want to see you hope to see 250 with 25 home runs. And
right,
and if you can do that, then maybe the first year doesn't sting so much, especially if the Rangers get to the playoffs. But it's a big if, and there are a couple ifs that the Rangers have to have happen. Jake Berger has to be better. If he's better, the lineup's better. If Josh Young is better, the lineup's better. And but you know, if ifs are a tough way to go into the off season, but at least there are fewer ifs, right?
right, right.
It's hard to say goodbye. And I don't know if this would fall in the second segment or if this is still a Grinchy thing, but we'll say it's Grinchy because of how bad the offense was. Jonah Hyman's not back.
Right.
Adolis Garcia is not back, and
Right.
Marcus Semien's been traded. So if the Rangers really felt like they had, let's say, 6 guys who are not productive and not fits anymore, well, half of them are gone.
Right.
And the other 3, you could say there were maybe some circumstances to their failures in 2025. And that there's some hope that they will bounce back. Whereas the other 3, he
You'd
was
lost
going the
hope.
wrong way and
Yeah.
looked kind of hopeless. So
Yeah. You'd
um,
lost hope.
not that one falls into the neither the naughty or the nice list.
I
It's kind of
think
in between there.
it's kind of grinchy though, because again, those men brought us so much joy, right? They brought us baseball joy in 2023, and really none of them brought us much in 24 or 25, and all 3 of them greatly under what they were able to do in 2023. So yeah, I definitely think that does. Where the Grinch also stole joy from us is just on that injury front, and foremost among them, Jeff, is I think Evan Carter, right? I mean, this is a guy who finally felt like he had a handle on and managed the back. And maybe we were finally going to get to see, I don't know, maybe at that point, what would it have been? Maybe a third of a season out of him, and he breaks his wrist.
Yeah, and that one you can live with. It's a baseball thing.
Yeah,
It happens. It's the back's still a concern. I guess if there is good news, it's that he only had to go on the injured list once for the back.
right.
Um, and so that's good. But it was going into spring training and then coming out of it where he was still trying to learn how to manage it and where the results weren't there yet, and that it was apparent by really the last 10 days that this guy was going to open the season at AAA.
Yes,
Best thing for him. And he's still a young man,
he is.
and he was even then. And so it's maybe the big mystery hanging over the team too.
Yeah, it is. And it's
If
interesting, though, because we've heard lots of reports that, and again, teams kick the tires on everybody. But there seems to have been recently just a ton of interest in Evan Carter. Like other teams realize,
yeah.
man, the upside of this guy is so high. And thankfully, the Rangers didn't listen. And that may, fall into the Santa segment, which is upcoming. But it's good that I think it's just really good that there's that much interest in a guy like this to realize this is what you have, and then fingers crossed he stays healthy.
Sure. I mean, it's not hard to see. I mean, he has great plate discipline. He can hit for power and average. He can run like the Dickens, and he's a really good outfielder. What more do you want? I mean, that's the complete package, and it's just the health thing.
Yeah.
And if the back allows him to play, if the back allows him to get 400 at bats this season, things are going to be looking up for the Rangers.
Yeah, they really are, and we'll sure keep our fingers crossed for that. We'll keep our fingers crossed for the arrival of Santa. Basically, I guess it's just like 17 hours from now, or at least by then. So we'll. But you know what? Why don't we expedite the process? Let's bring Santa along the program here next and see where baseball joy resided for us in the past season and even during the off season. It's all coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. Don't forget the sides. Do not forget the sides at Wild Fork Foods. They have so many great ones and hors d'oeuvres, but they are known for their meat and their seafood. And you need to do what I did and get one of those chimichurri tri-tip roasts, or maybe one of the beef tenderloin roasts. They're really inexpensive, not bad price-wise at all, and fantastic quality. Easy to cook, easy to buy, and so tasty to enjoy. 9 locations of Wild Fork Foods around the Metroplex, and of course, they have delivery options available. Get the Wild Fork app so you know everything that they have and everything that you can do to make your family go, good on Christmas. Wild Fork Foods is our favorite. I'll definitely be using the garlic bread and the wings as part of my celebration. Also, it's the last day for you to get that chance to buy this for somebody. This is the opportunity to go to the Rangers Fantasy Camp. What a special gift it would be for somebody, even yourself. Yeah, you're allowed to buy a gift for yourself this time of year. You worked hard. You deserve it. Rub elbows with some of the greats from Rangers past. Mark McLemore will be there. Pudge Rodriguez, Fergie Jenkins. That's 2 Hall of Famers I just mentioned. Steve Buechele, and so many more. There will be so much fun for 5 days in Arizona at the Rangers Spring Training Camp. You'll have a locker in the locker room. You'll have a uniform with your name on it. It is a fantastic opportunity to live out your childhood dream. It's the Rangers Fantasy Camp. Go to rangers.com/fantasy. Got to throw a flag on myself. I called it the locker room, Jeff. It's the clubhouse.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's bad. Bad.
Yeah.
It's bad news. It's a locker room in football. It's a room. They just call it the room in hockey. And it's clubhouse in baseball. Locker room in basketball, too. So they all have lockers, though. The lockers have become so elaborate now, though. If you haven't taken the tour of the ballpark, you need to do that, too. Get a look at that dadgum clubhouse. It looks like a sports bar. Like, we're immune to it now, Jeff, but I remember, because it's kind of modeled after the one at Wrigley Field. And I remember when I first saw the one in the old Wrigley Field, but they dug a basement or something and put the home clubhouse, and I got to go in there, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And that, I mean, the Rangers clubhouse in the old ballpark wasn't bad. It was pretty nice, but
yeah,
these things now are unbelievable.
And
that's one of the reasons free agents do want to come here, is not only the amenities, but the ballpark in general. It's still a one, if not the one of the best in baseball, and probably the best still in baseball. And so that's, that is a joy. That's a baseball joy thing that Santa has. It's the gift he gave, I guess, Jeff, in 2020, and it keeps on giving, because until somebody is the Vegas one the next baseball park to be done?
Yeah, I think
it is.
so.
So we're not talking till 2028 until
Yeah.
there's another new ballpark. And I imagine just by looking at what what they've done thus far, it'll be a darn nice ballpark as well. But that means the Rangers are going to have basically 8 years of having the best facility in baseball, and on years, Jeff, when they can spend money, that's a good thing. It attracts people like Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon and Jacob DeGrom and obviously Nathan Eovaldi, all the guys they've gotten over the years. Part of the reason they're attracted to the place is the place.
100%. And in 2020, well, fans weren't allowed. The MLB, had the World Series
Yeah,
in the National League playoffs at Globe Life Field, and Corey Seager spent about 3 weeks
yeah,
playing there, and he still has the same locker, so he knew the facilities well. Last week when we spoke with the coaches, Alex Cintrone, the new assistant hitting coach, he couldn't stop talking about it.
really,
How the
yeah,
facilities, and there he said there's everything that a guy needs. I was like, well, you've been to the visiting clubhouse. He goes, oh yeah, it's nice, but this is unbelievable. So you hear it from every free agent who signs, or every player is acquired in a trade. They just can't believe how nice it is. So it is the gift that keeps on giving here 6 years later. Um, now they need to get some players to put in it.
right. So they had the drought, they had the bad, literally worst year in Rangers history. Although I know the people who were around in the seasons from hell era might dispute that, but that 2021 was a bad baseball season.
It
But
was.
they and we were there for every step of it, and it was just it was horrific. But then 2 years later, they reached the mountaintop, and of course that was the greatest by far season in Rangers history. So that's certainly a gift that Santa left behind. But now, so now the goal becomes getting it there again. And as much, Jeff, as you and I were so fond of and close to and really unhappy with the decision to move on from Bruce Bochy, I really do think that this managerial change, again, hate to see Bochy go, but I think they got a manager who everybody wanted for a reason. And I believe that, Skip Schumacher is one of the things that will, and maybe already has a little bit, but will bring baseball joy to Arlington.
We've enjoyed talking to him. There's no
Yeah,
question about that. The energy that people talk about is there. He's enthusiastic. Now we haven't seen the competitive side yet.
right.
Although maybe in his coaching selections, some tough decisions, that tells you he's serious about this. Wants his guys. Um, so I do think that Skip is um, gonna gonna help. Now, I mean, some guys you don't really need to manage, but the things that I'm more curious about than the X and the O's, if you will, is how he's gonna address what is now becoming more and more of an issue, and that's the clubhouse chemistry. And he says he wants to build a winning chemistry, whatever that looks like to him. It's getting everybody on board. And he's working on that. He's making trips to see people. He's had conversations with a lot of the guys who are here. He'd had a lot of conversations with Marcus Simeon before the trade, and so it's that's the thing, the component that, you know, we don't really see. We don't get the feel for it. We're not in the clubhouse for more than 45 minutes, and then maybe 10 minutes at the after the game. We're not there in the, during a rain delay in another city, or the hour before the game, or in the back when they're eating their pregame meal. What's that like? And how does it get fixed? And if there was a major problem, which maybe there was, Um, so that's what I'm more curious about than anything else. And that and then I'll back that up with the offensive philosophy.
Right.
Now that's got to change. That had to change whether it was Skip Schumacher becoming manager or Bruce Bochy staying as manager. The Rangers had to figure out a way to go about it differently. And so but a lot of that is the player personnel that maybe is yet to be acquired. Although Nimmo and Jansen seem to fit the bill of on base and contact guys. But you know how are the three we talked about in the last segment: Josh Young, Jake Berger, and Jock Peterson going to adapt to that?
Yeah, no, it's the biggest question of the off season. But to your point, and you mentioned Nimmo, I believe that he is another one of these gifts, right? That Santa dropped down the chimney here because he, it appears, fixes a couple of things. Obviously, they needed another outfielder since they non-tendered Adolis Garcia, so they've got that. And he's, then, but that leadership part, that clubhouse part, it just seems to come so naturally to him, right? And to help create a fun environment in the clubhouse, it's just not an easy thing to necessarily do, and it feels like he gives them a leg up. Because again, that cannot be created by the manager or the coaching staff, right? I mean, Bruce Bochy was silly fun. I mean,
Right.
we just had fun talking to him, and I'm sure the players did too. But he's not going to be able. This just doesn't work that way in baseball. He cannot create clubhouse atmosphere. It has to come from guys in the clubhouse.
It does. The manager can, you know, like that was the thing that was always talked about with Wash is, oh, well, Wash lets them police the clubhouse and take care of their own business and all of that. All right, well, who are your policemen? That are they corrupt?
Yeah,
do
yeah,
they need do you need to get a new chief in there? And Nimmo certainly is going to be a good spokesman.
yeah.
The guy can talk, but there's a genuine amount of care with him that just from what we could tell, the house that he had built in St. Lucie, Florida, where the Mets have spring training, he was planning on entertaining with that house. And so he brought that up and was already like, hey, what are you going to do for the Rangers? He said, oh, believe me, we're going to do something in spring training. Whether it's a house big enough or whether it's just at a banquet hall or something. I'm gonna do something that's gonna get everybody together and have a good time out there. So he's committed to that. And look, he's an everyday player. People talk about Marcus played every day, rain or shine. Um, you know, uh, so does Brandon Nimmo. And he hits left-handers well. He's an everyday guy, and a new guy coming in a new team with just his attitude. It seems like he won't put too much pressure on himself, and in fact, he'll maybe be able to elevate. Let a new team that won and let that serve as motivation, and to prove them right. So I think that this is a guy who a lot of people are going to be gravitate towards just because he's so friendly and so captivating, and then he can do it. He can go out and play too.
Yes, yeah, that's a huge part of it. I mean, I think that has to be a part of it. And of course, everybody's getting older. His skills will eventually decline, but he's younger, certainly than Marcus Simeon, who essentially he was traded for. I mean, directly traded for. But then, so you've got. But the neat thing about that, Jeff, is you were talking to him about that a day or two after the trade relative to what are you going to do since you don't have this house to entertain everybody. And he's like, well, we're going to do something. Like,
Yeah,
that's not his responsibility, right? It's not an innate responsibility. It's not like, doesn't come with the dinner. And yet in his mind, that's what you do. And so
right.
that's where it's such a natural role for him.
Yeah, he seems to just, it just wants to do it, or or it's just something like you said, he just feels like he's supposed to do. And
Yeah.
obviously when he was a rookie, the first couple of years in the league,
Yeah.
he didn't do it.
No.
He probably yielded to, the David Wrights of the world and whoever else was a Mets veteran at the time. But, you know, even though this is his first year coming in, the Rangers traded their supposed captain, right?
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
And now you have Brandon coming in. He's not a stranger to everybody. He knows Jacob DeGrom and
Yeah.
probably has a good feel for what he's getting himself into. But this guy wants to come in and do that. He wants to help Evan Carter, and he wants to help Wyatt Langford. He wants to,
Yep.
there's just things that a veteran guy usually says are just his responsibility because somebody did it for him.
Yep.
It was done for him probably by the guys we met, David
Yeah.
Wright and that core group of Mets back then. Um, I would imagine that he's just passing the torch, doing what somebody did for him. All these guys want to leave the game better than when they got into it, and some of them take it more seriously than others, and I think Mr. Nimmo takes it pretty seriously.
Yeah, so he's definitely one of the gifts. Santa helped out in that regard. We've got more coming up. I just remembered we got to get back to one of the Grinch things.
Oh,
Also, though, let's look to the future, even as we do the Grinch things from the past. So it's the past and the future coming next on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
heyo, news supporters club time. I haven't seen To in the chat, so I don't know that you guys are gonna get any gifts from him. But even without his charity, it's totally worth it to chip in the nominal fee to become a member of the supporters club. You do it at our YouTube homepage. You go there, and there's a little button that right next to the subscribe button that says join. Click it, a couple easy steps, and voila, you have access to videos that nobody else gets to see. Um, Stuff that's behind the scenes, like the skipper Ben out at the winter meetings, doing what's it like a day at the winter meetings. They're very long, I can tell you that. He really condensed it down into a short video. But John and I have done a couple. Every beat does a couple, and it's just behind the scenes stuff that's going to make you a smarter fan for your favorite teams. You get the emojis, so why not do it? Become a member of our supporters club.
And you should also become a subscriber to our newsletter. Today, Ali says in his leading off segment, there's usually this little leading off thing, which could be funny or a creative or caustic. It could be anything. Today, he says, very soon we're going to begin to do Cowboys draft stuff. Oh, how I wish we weren't doing that yet, he says, right? I mean, like you're already looking at the draft because they're playing out the string in these final two games, and it's all too familiar. The Cowboys fans have been talking draft way too early for way too many years. But anyway, then he goes on to explain various things, including what's written about today is the crazy TV hanging, falling on his head concussion suffered by Trayvon Diggs. Anybody believe that? Not me. He mentions the Rangers. He mentions the Mavs. They were ice cold. But anyway, it's all there. It's the newsletter. Free. Subscribe. Just alldlls.com. Scroll down. Find a little box down there that allows you to do it. Put in your email, and we'll send this newsletter and all of its glory to your inbox for free each and every day. Okay, so let's get back to the Grinch for just a second, because the one thing, and I know this is the one that troubles you even more. You were closer to him than I was, but we both have a relationship with this guy for so many years. Mike Maddox and the Rangers not being able to come to terms on a deal. I believe both parties were willing and both parties wanted to get it done. And sometimes, Jeff, it just doesn't happen. And it's too bad.
It is too bad, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Uh, taking nothing away from Jordan Teagues, who has replaced Mike, who was the bullpen coach last year, who's well respected around the league. I'm close with Jordan from covering the minor leagues, so hey, I'm in Jordan's corner. But Mike Maddox, as Skip Schumacher himself said, is one
Yeah.
of the best pitching coaches in baseball history. You had him, and whatever happened, whether it was a lack of communication, uh, a mixed signal by giving the Angels permission to speak
Yeah.
with Mike Maddox.
Maybe. Yeah.
That seems to be kind of a um, what I get stuck on. Why would you, if you wanted to keep the guy,
Yeah.
why would you let another team talk to him? So anyway, Mike is exiting and getting handsomely paid for 1 year with the Angels, and maybe that's all it is. He keeps talking about retiring and all of that stuff. Yeah, I thought he was ready to retire before he joined the Rangers.
Yeah.
He wanted to at least be at home and all of that jazz, and now he has a grandchild, and
Yeah.
more and more reasons to say farewell to the game that's done him and his family so much good. So that's a stinker. And hey, while we're still on the Scrooge thing or the Grinch thing, this is
Either one. Yeah, they're both
more of a
bad guys. Yeah.
Scrooge thing. Ownership not putting out any money. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
What kind of shopping list are we talking about here for Christmas? Um, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's just unnecessary. Um, and so I think that maybe Scrooge will get visited by some ghosts of
Kind of hope
past,
so.
present, and future, and
Yeah.
maybe he'll wake up Thursday morning and call Chris Young and say, "Spend."
Yes.
But
Yes. I'll give Tiny Tim the damn turkey. Good God. Let's have a turkey. I agree. It is. It's occurred to me that we have almost a Scrooge-like approach at this holiday season, somewhat miserly, and it didn't make sense with Ebenezer, and I'm not sure it makes sense with Ray, but it's what we have. So, like you say, we can only hope for the ghosts. Those ghosts are powerful, man. And if they
they
take him,
are
all they have to do is take him 2 years back, right?
right. We're
Remember
not going
this? This
far.
was. Remember how fun this was? This was so cool. You were happy, and everybody was, and you made tons of money, right? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, hang on. The dogs are barking.
Oh, hello, dogs. Yeah. All right. So the future then, is not as certain as we think. But as we were mentioning about, Skip Schumacher in the last segment, we feel like that the future is bright. We were saying it yesterday on the show, Jeff. I mean, this team has a really good chance to be a good team. Again, last year, there were many people at this, maybe not quite yet this time, but during the offseason, the end of the offseason last year, national pundits everywhere were going, man, look at that team. They have, the pieces in place to be really good. And while some of those pieces are gone now, I think they proved that they were part of the problem. But there's still pieces here, enough pieces, especially as it pertains to pitching, Jeff, for this to be a really good team.
Yeah, and that's something that uh, is still talked about. If you're going to start a pitching rotation, Jacob DeGrom and Nathan Eovaldi and Jack Leiter are a pretty good place to start. And the Rangers feel like they would put those three up against any other trio
Sure.
around the league, and they'd probably have a pretty good shot at it. And probably just a handful of teams are in that conversation, and the Rangers are one of them. Now they need to supplement it. You need to figure out whether it's going to be Latz or a free agent, or rocker by midseason, Cody Bradford maybe in the first half,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Corey Seager, who is a two-time World Series MVP, a potential Hall of Fame player, and Wyatt Langford, who the Rangers feel is going to be the superstar. So that's five guys That's a fifth of your roster. That's pretty good starting point right there. It's now what they put around it, and there's obvious and well deserved concern for the bullpen. The lineup was so brutal last year. Counting on some of these guys to rebound, counting on health, on maybe a guy who hasn't been healthy. So there are still pitfalls out there, but if more good happens than bad, then the Rangers are going to be, in the thick of it. Just keep in mind, they still finished, right around 500. What were they, 500?
They
Whatever
were
they were
80,
last year,
81 and
81 and
81. Yep.
81, um, with that miserable offense. And yes, the pitching staff is probably going to backtrack a little bit. Okay, they're not going to be as good. It would be very, very hard for there not to be a step back here. But even if it's just a minor step back, and the offense takes you know a step forward or two steps forward, you're talking about a contending team here.
Yes.
I understand the angst with the inability to spend, and we got to have the internal improvement line, and like, oh man, we've heard that before. Um, but it's true, and if these things happen, the Rangers are going to be fine, and
Mhm.
they're going to be in the hunt. They really are.
Yeah, and as we look at the division, clearly the Angels, again, having just made another managerial change, and the schizophrenic nature of the Artie Moreno ownership group and all of that thing. Sadly, it appears that that group is headed in the wrong direction again. Currently, the A's are bolstering. I mean. They've added a lot in this offseason, so there's something there. They just traded for. We'll get to that in the next segment, but just made another trade to bolster their second base position. So anyway, point is, it's you've got the A's getting better, but they're still kind of also around. But it's a three-team race:
Yeah,
Astros, Rangers, and Mariners. Now,
sure.
Mariners have obviously had a great season and have had a decent, if not better than that, offseason.
Yeah, the Astros are going to lose their best pitcher, right?
Right,
and
right.
and have to count on guys coming back from injuries. Their offense, they just can figure out a way to win. So it's just kind of ingrained in them. The Mariners, you know, Cal Raleigh, what a season, what
Yeah,
a fun guy, fun player, but I don't see him hitting 60 again.
no, no.
And they still needed to supplement the lineup despite his heroics there at the trade deadline. They added Suarez, and that didn't necessarily work out, but the Naylor thing sure did. And so they have Naylor back for this year, having already re-signed him. Their pitching's always the thing; it's always very good, and but don't lose sight of them having to play a couple extra rounds, you know, and the time to recover from that, and maybe they're slow to start. I don't know. I just am never sold on the Mariners,
It's
and
hard.
and
It's hard to.
it's just hard. And yeah, the Rangers are a tough buy right now, but
They are. They are.
they're clearly better than the A's, who can't pitch,
Right.
the Angels, who can't do a lot.
Can't do anything.
Um,
Yeah.
so you're right. I think it's those three teams. It's just a matter of what order you put them in. Probably, I would imagine that people will put the Rangers second or third. I think the Mariners will be the clear
Yeah.
favorite going into
Yep.
the season. But again, I just don't. I can't. I'm not buying a lot of their stock right now.
No, I'd buy stock in that rotation, and
Yeah.
yet, ironically, that rotation didn't have the numbers the Rangers rotation did.
Right.
So I mean, the Rangers rotation was better, but that Seattle rotation is still really good, really stout, and the strength of the team, and it is, speaking of Cal Raleigh, somewhat bolstered by a guy who's so good, not only hitting 60 bombs, but he's really good behind the plate too. So, and plays a lot. So, anyway, that's a quick look at the immediate and sort of this year future. Coming up next, it's our cleanup segment, as we get to lots of things happening, including a team that never spends, that just spent. We'll talk about it next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time to be a diehard. If you aren't already, you could still gift a diehard membership to your favorite sports fan. Gift it to yourself too, just as you could that Rangers fantasy camp I talked about earlier. Give yourself the gift of sports, man. It's so depressing anymore to dive into the news. I still get the paper and I look at the news sections of the paper and I'm like, I don't even want to read this stuff. So I just go to sports, and you should too. And you can get better sports coverage, really, from being a diehard than you can from any of the papers around here, and probably any of the papers most places. But we aren't most places. We're here, and we've got fantastic coverage. We've got a beat writer for each and every one of the major teams here, and we have a couple of them actually on the Cowboys, and we have content that we crank out each and every day, much of it behind the paywall, and that's okay, because for just $79.99 you can become a diehard. You can get all that content plus 20% off of our events, 20% off of our merchandise, which Jeff is just about to talk about.
Yeah, merch, store.allcitynetwork.com. You see John and I wearing the shirts all the time. I'll throw in a hoodie. And I had one hat. Well, now I have 4 hats because I got 3 of them yesterday. We have 4 new hats. I have purchased 3 of the 4. And this is this would be the Mavs hat.
Yeah, it's good looking.
Yeah. Let's ignore the hat hair and look at the hat. Sorry about the blinders there. There we go. This is the one, John, I think you bought.
That's the one. Yep.
The black flag hat.
Yep. It's at my other house right now. Yep.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. John with 2 houses. All right. And then I like this one. White and black, plain and nice and
That's
simple.
Good. Yeah.
Solid cap. And of course, the OG right here.
Yeah.
So 4 hats, bunches of t-shirts and sweatshirts, beer steins, coffee cups, store.allcitynetwork.com.
Yeah. Love the hats. So go there, get some of that stuff, and we promise you will enjoy it. The Pittsburgh Pirates, Jeff, have dug deep and signed Ryan O'Hearn to a 2-year, $29 million contract. Apparently, they were in on every free agent this year, and maybe even Juan Soto last year. But by God, this offer apparently has been accepted, and Ryan O'Hearn, who was pretty well sought after at this juncture, he's going to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. So, maybe they are going to try and surround Paul Skeens with something.
Yeah, that's nice. Brandon Lau, they acquired him in a trade with the Rays, and they have they don't have enough. O'Neal Cruz they're still waiting for him to get there, and are they going to re-sign the 100-year-old Andrew McCutchen? And but Skeens only pitches once every 5th day.
Right.
Mitch Keller can be a nice pitcher, a nice addition. But if this is them going for it, great. Brewers and Cubs are kind of standing in their way, which not going to be easy to overcome there in the Central. But they need to show their fans a little something, and maybe next year they will get the Kyle Schwarber of the offseason. Who knows? But and let's not forget, big offseason addition for them, Tony Beasley. So
that's right.
That could be the missing piece over there.
That's more than enough reason for any of us to root for them when they're not playing the Rangers, because
sure,
I would love to see Bees have wonderful success there. I mean, he's the kind of guy where it doesn't matter. Like, he's happy and joyous every day anyway. But winning is fun.
Absolutely, and that's the Pirates have the ballpark and the city and the history to go out there and win, and they just haven't done it lately. So I don't know. Here's hoping for the Pirates.
Yeah, we are absolutely hoping that the Pirates are able to pull that thing off. And the Mariners, the aforementioned Mariners, Jeff, have bolstered their outfield. I saw a lot of Ranger fans who were a little disappointed by this on the social media. But Rob Refsnyder goes to the Mariners and bolsters them. That's a 1-year deal, I think.
Yeah, former Rangers great because
Yeah,
he was with the team in 2020.
yeah,
Nice guy too. I really enjoyed talking to him. I still think there's a right-handed bat or two out there to procure. Austin Hayes is the guy I'm higher on than Rob Refsnyder.
yeah,
So let's see if that can come to fruition. But yeah, when a team feels like it's settled, or has most of its position spoken for and is ready to you know at this point they're just finding the missing pieces, and a right-handed bat is a missing piece apparently for the Mariners of Seattle.
yeah. And it begs the question because there has been talk on social media lately that they are still in the market, still in still in making a play for a Eugenio Suarez. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if like again, this is a team last year, Jeff, that was under 200 million. Money wise, payroll
Yeah.
wise. So are they willing to continue, to push it and sign all these guys for bigger dollars? And what is ownership going to do there?
Yeah, but Suarez wasn't very good
He wasn't for them.
after they
No,
got him.
no.
He's been great. He was great with the Diamondbacks in a
Yeah,
hitter friendly ballpark.
yeah.
Um, and then he's been okay with the Mariners, but he's always been a high strikeout, low average guy. Um, and he blossomed there over 12 calendar months with the Diamondbacks and made himself a wanted, coveted trade guy. And he has some good numbers if you're going into free agency. It's
Hmm.
like, hey, this is what I've done. But it's kind of a tale of uh, two halves, I guess. He was pre trade deadline, post trade deadline for him. So we'll see how it works out. But they could definitely use him. They lost Polanco to the Mets. Um, so they have a couple holes that they could use filling.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mentioned the Jeff McNeil, the Mets and Steve, or not, I don't know, it's not Cohen, it's Stearns. Man, they're
David
just
Stern.
yeah, David Stearns, they're just breaking that core down. I mean, McNeil's gone now, and they're going to have to pay. Traded him with the A's, and they're going to have to pay a portion of his salary. They're just he's
Yeah.
apparently. I mean, he's getting rid of everybody from that group.
Yeah, and the Mets fans are apocalyptic. At least some of them are.
Yeah,
But d- was that group working out for them? Was that
no,
meeting the incredibly high expectations that have been set upon them with Cohen spending? I mean, they have, you know, th- remember, 22, 23, they added Scherzer and Verlander, and they're like, oh, this is it, and they were terrible, and
yeah.
so they ended up trading both of them.
Yeah, and
You know,
this kind of reminds me of that. Like they're not afraid, and then they got good again, even after trading. Or yeah, at the deadline they traded Scherzer and Verlander at the same deadline, and then they still got good again. So I'm like, man, they're not afraid to just sort of, we made a mistake, it's gone. And
yeah.
I don't know that Nimmo or McNeil or any of those guys were mistakes necessarily, but they're gone. So.
Yeah, and they have the young starting pitchers
They
who,
do. Yeah.
every team wants to be able to build a rotation around young homegrown guys. Um, and maybe that's what eventually happens, which would save them some money and allow them to pursue free agents. But Vientos, their third baseman's a young
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice young player, and they just need to. I don't know. Hey, if it isn't working, then make it work, and you see the Rangers kind of do that. Maybe sometimes uh, addition by subtraction situation there. Although it's hard to imagine that Pete Alonso, that you're going to replace that easily, and so yeah, I have questions too, Mets fans.
Yeah, I do too. I'd be somewhat apocalyptic if I was a Mets fan right now too. Some of those guys, it appears, weren't the problem, right? So, but
Yeah,
then again, it's difficult to necessarily identify then what was, right? So,
yeah,
all right, let's start from scratch and see what we can find here. White Sox have made a couple of moves today, and one of them involves a former Ranger farmhand and drink of water guy, and Dustin Harris. He gets a minor league deal with them, Jeff, and an invite to spring training. And the White Sox have also made another signing. They've got left-hander Sean Newcomb inked to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal. Some believe he was, sort of the best lefty reliever that was still out there. So, the White Sox, big week, signed
yeah,
the Japanese kid, and now they've got Sean Newcomb coming, and Dustin Harris too, for that matter.
yeah. Yeah, I always thought Dustin Harris deserved more of a chance here. Um, Good kid, great athlete. Could hit, can hit for power. I just thought he was a guy that needed a chance, and so um, he knows Will Venable. Will Venable
Yeah.
knows him. So
Yep. Yep.
hopefully there's something there for him. But again, a tremendous kid, a friend of the weekly podcast, and certainly hope that he does well. I'd love to see him be a contributor for the White Sox.
Yeah, that'd be fun, and it'll be fun for Will if he can. I mean, he they took steps forward last year, and now with a little more support from ownership, it seems like maybe they can take even more steps forward. It'd be nice to see him have an opportunity to succeed and not just be in a position to have this job so that you can get fired. You wondered if you've looked at Team USA and thinking about the World Baseball Classic, who the heck's going to play first base? That question has been answered because Bryce Harper is going to Team USA. He says in his post, I first put on the colors of the USA and when I was 15 years old, and it's never something. It's always something I've loved to do. So Bryce Harper's there, and again, obviously that guy's normally a DH, Jeff, but you can in a World Baseball Classic type situation, you put him at first base.
Yeah, he came up as an outfielder, of course, and
Yeah,
then he hurt his arm, and the Phillies had a need because I think Reese Hopkins blew out his knee, so in slides Bryce Harper, and hey, great, the more the merrier, right?
yeah.
I am Team USA all the way, so let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that team's going to be stout. It's going to be fantastic. It does make you think, the Chris Bryants and the Joey Gallos of the world, who are all teammates, right? At least on an all-star team and maybe on the regular team with Bryce Harper in Las Vegas as kids. I mean, and I'm sure they're proud, but it's like,
Yeah,
dang, like I was right there. There were a lot of games when we were playing as kids. I was better than him, that kind of thing. It's
yeah,
gotta gnaw
yeah.
at you a little bit.
Troy Tulowitzki's a Vegas guy. The Giambis are Vegas guys, so
Yeah,
Vegas will turn out some ball players.
yeah, they really will. It's pretty amazing. We told you about Murataka signing yesterday with the White Sox, but now the Tatsuya Imai deadline is approaching. Jeff, it's the 2nd of January, and there has
Okay.
not been much. There has not been much traction on that deal at all.
Yeah, and I kind of had this thought that, you know, there was so much buzz with Otani and so much buzz with Sasaki, not as much with Yamamoto. So I wonder if like it has to be phenom level, like, you know, um, Otani and
Right.
Sasaki, these young
Yeah.
studs,
Yeah.
and they hold these meetings and second meetings and all of this stuff, and teams scramble and bow at their feet and all of this stuff. I just wonder if these veteran players from Japan don't have the same buzz about them because
Sure.
maybe they're a little more established and maybe their flaws are known a little bit more. But I just keep hearing about the Yankees. That seems to be the one for Imai. Um, Could the Rangers not raise their ass? Sure. Hey, why not? That'd be cool.
I'd love that. Yeah.
But it depends on what kind of contract everybody thinks that he's going to get. And of course, initially everybody thought the guy the White Sox just signed was going to get like a 100-year
Yeah.
deal,
Yeah.
100 years, $100 billion, and
Yeah. No, I
he
think it
ended up
was,
getting
but it was
2
like,
and 28 or
yeah,
something.
it was like eight for 140, and he
Yeah,
got two for, what was it, 38, something like that.
not even that
So
much. Yeah,
okay, yeah, so two for 34. That's right. Yeah. So
whatever. Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So that's it'll be interesting to watch. There's so much interesting to watch, including our show every day, except not the next 2 days. Sadly, we won't be here with you the next couple of days because we, like you, will be celebrating the Christmas holiday. We're going to be back on Friday at 1 o'clock, though, and we'll be glad to do that. And in the meantime, we wish each and every one of you a Merry, Merry Christmas. We thank you so much for being a part of our day each and every day. We love hanging out with you, talking baseball with you. We'll look forward to our next opportunity to see you, because I'm sure we're going to have a Wild Fork appearance coming up soon. And Jeff, Merry Christmas to you and your
And
family.
you, John,
Yeah,
enjoy
appreciate it.
it with your granddaughter. And today is my daughter's birthday,
Oh,
so
that's right. Big
we've got
day.
the double whammy. Oh, it's not a whammy. We got the daily double here.
The daily double.
We
That's
got a
right.
lot of celebrating these next few days.
Yes, yes, paying big time. The daily double pays off big. Happy or Merry Christmas to Kat and all of hers too, and all of our colleagues at DLLS. We're so proud of what we have built here, and we're so appreciative to each and every one of you for being a part of what we have built here. So that will do it for us until Friday. We'll see you at 1 o'clock on Friday for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. Merry Christmas, everyone.